Hello and welcome to another episode of Tips and Ideas with Ed Wallace of Midwest Landscaping. www.uniqueenvironments.com. We're here in Mobile, headed through Pico Rivera, California, headed to Altadena, Pasadena area. And I thought I would talk about a topic that seems like it's pretty popular nowadays, which is decomposed granite. There's a lot of people that are installing decomposed granite instead of doing mulch in their planter bed areas, using decomposed granite in place of concrete, using decomposed granite in place of pavers and different types of media that are used for pathways and walkways. And basically I'm just going to tell you the pros and cons today, give you my inside scoop on pros and cons of utilizing decomposed granite. There's a lot of different types of decomposed granite out there that can be utilized. There is the really fine granular decomposed granite. There's a more coarser grade of decomposed granite that is used in the projects. We use a medium coarse selection of decomposed granite with a pre-mixed stabilizer that is incorporated into the decomposed granite. This stabilizer is a polymer type product, to where what it does, it helps to bind the decomposed granite to a certain degree that makes it hard enough to be able to walk on and place some outdoor equipment on top of. But it's not like utilizing concrete. So sometimes people think that if they put in decomposed granite, they can play on it, they can set chairs and tables and different things on it and walk on it without any problem, without utilizing any type of stabilizer. And that's just not true. There's two different types of stabilizers. There's a powdered form, and actually there's like three different types. There's a powdered form that basically is blended into the decomposed granite in a dry state, and then once the decomposed granite is wetted, when it's compacted up, then that product basically catalyzes and it produces a hard surface, or it produces a solidity within that decomposed granite, so you can walk on it and do different things. It's kind of like the decomposed granite you see in Parkway and the parks. The different parks has pathways and walkways and trails, and a lot of times they use decomposed granite in these trails, and that particular type of decomposed granite has the stabilizer blended in a powdered form, and then once it's wetted and compacted up, when they're actually installed in decomposed granite, it hardens up when it dries out, and then there you go, you have a nice solid surface to walk on, which is still porous enough to allow water to permeate back down into the water table. The decomposed granite also can be applied, the actual stabilizer, the stabilizer can also be applied manually in a liquid form, and there is a liquid form of stabilizer that you can purchase and put it in like a watering can, which you use to water plants with, and you pour that. Once you lay out your decomposed granite and install it in the areas that you're going to install it into, you would take this product and pour it over top of the decomposed granite, and then compact up your decomposed granite, and then come back again after so many hours to do another application of the liquid polymer with the watering can, and then you would have your your decomposed granite stabilized that way. I don't particularly like that way that much, because the consistency of the blend is iffy. I mean, using a consistent pour pattern would be great if you get that kind of consistency where the applicator is applying the same amount of product over the entire area where you're going to apply the polymer. But if you're running short on polymer and you need to get the job done, sometimes you have contractors that kind of stretch out the polymer by putting a little bit of water in there so they can finish up the square footage of whatever they're covering, and that's not really good from the product standpoint, because you thin out that product so you don't get the same consistency as you would get if that product is used full strength. Is what is recommended, that it is used full strength. And so applying the polymer via water can or manually is kind of iffy there. I'm not too happy about that. The best way I found to apply the stabilizer or apply decomposed granite with stabilizer blended in is actually having the stabilizer blended into the decomposed granite. I have a supplier in Irwindale that basically they have a big, huge, like 50-gallon drum of stabilizer that they put on a forklift and they lift it up, and they have a valve on it, and they open that valve up and they pre-meter measure out the exact amount of polymer that I'm going to need based on the square footage of decomposed granite that we're installing. So we have a particular formula so that it's consistent. And what he does is they mix it with a skip loader. It has a bucket on it, so they basically blend it and mix it before they bring it out to the job site. And then when they bring it to the job site, that decomposed granite is thoroughly blended with stabilizer. So when we apply it to our job site and compact it up, we wet it down a little bit and compact it up, the stabilizer is able to catalyze very uniformly, and we don't have any problems with not having enough stabilizer in certain areas on our job site. And so that's a little bit of an inside tip concerning stabilizers and decomposed granite, and especially in areas where you're going to be walking on it, or there's solid areas where you like to put down chairs or tables or outdoor furniture and things like that. You need to pay attention to this, because just putting decomposed granite down and compacting it up, that decomposed granite will get hard, but as soon as you have a rain or something like that, it's going to be like a mosh pit. Even with the stabilizer in it, it's still going to soften up a certain amount, because remember, this is not cement. This is basically a catalyst that helps to harden it so that you can walk on it. But eventually it does get kind of mushy. So you want to not do too much foot traffic or have too much weight on it when it's wet, because it's not the best, in my opinion, it's not the best surface for outdoor furniture and things like that. It's kind of like a remote kind of area that you want to sit down or something like that. But for a lot of activity, I don't really recommend decomposed granite for an area that you're going to have a lot of activity, unless you're going to have some flagstone inner blended in with the decomposed granite to help reduce some of that, or to have better weight distribution with outdoor furniture and chairs and things like that. And also, one thing about decomposed granite is it is pulverized granite, and it does produce a dust. And if you have hardwood floors, it's my recommendation that maybe you don't use decomposed granite, because unless you like sandpapering your hardwood floors in your house, you're going to have a situation where you're going to have to make sure that your feet are very clean. You got to have an outdoor rug, an indoor rug, so when you come in the house and off of this decomposed granite pathway or patio, that your feet are clean, because it's going to bring in decomposed granite dust and particles into the house, and your nice, smooth, clear finish on your hardwood floor will slowly be abrased away with that, like a light, fine sandpaper. Through time, it's going to dull it out, especially near the entry points of the coming in and out of the door, or out of the patio slider door or something like that, into the area where that decomposed granite is outside into the house or business, wherever where you have this hardwood floor. Through time, you're going to wear out the finish on that floor, because you're going to have dust and decomposed granite particles that's going to adhere to the bottom of the soles of the shoes. Or if you have a pet, they're going to bring it in, and so you're going to kind of like sandpaper out your hardwood floors. So you might want to reconsider using decomposed granite in certain areas where you're going to have an in and out of the house or business situation. Or, like I say, either you take your shoes off each time you come into the house, have your guests take their shoes off, so that way you don't have any problems with scratching up your hardwood floors. Decomposed granite is a very good product to use in certain situations. It's very economical, depending on how much you put down and where you put it at. But just know the ins and outs and the do's and don'ts when you put in decomposed granite. Also, one thing about it, when you do install it, it's a good idea to put down a weed block fabric in order to prevent any kind of weeds that may come up through the bottom of that of the ground area where you're applying that decomposed granite. I wouldn't recommend plastic because plastic isn't porous, so the water will not percolate back down into the water table into the earth. I recommend a really premium grade landscape fabric that you can put down and help to prevent that decomposed granite from kind of like blending in and moshing out with the soil, but also more importantly to help reduce the amount of weeds that'll come up through that decomposed granite once you do install it. Because a lot of times people take out grassy areas or sidewalks, or they want to replace a sidewalk with decomposed granite, or areas in their backyard or front yard they want to create a patio, and so they're taking out the grass, and sometimes the grass has Bermuda or some other rhizoneous type of grass, and those roots are deep, and sometimes they don't go, the contractor or the homeowner doesn't go deep enough to really take all those roots out, and they do not properly prepare the area before they put the decomposed granite in. And then what happens, they have grasses that'll grow up through that decomposed granite. Even though you put down landscape fabric, it will not be a cure-all, because grassy weeds do come out like in a form of a point. So it's almost like threading a needle, that the point of the grass will come through the weave of the landscape fabric. And so even though you do all the preparation and all the precautions necessary to help reduce the amount of weeds that come through the weed block fabric, you still may have an occasional Bermuda grass seedling, or St. Augustine seedling, or some other type of grassy blade type of grass root that'll come up through the weave, because it just goes right through the weave, just like you're taking a needle through a cotton cloth or something like that when you're sewing. Broadleaf weeds don't have that same type of challenge, because they come out in a broader leaf form. They don't come out in a point, say like grassy weeds and grasses. So that's one thing you got to keep in mind. Even though you put down that weed block fabric, it's no total guarantee that you're going to always keep out the grassy weeds in the area where you're putting that decomposed granite. Utilizing a horticultural grade type vinegar, if you don't want to use chemicals in your yard to get rid of that grassy weed, is an option. By using the vinegar, that can help kill that grass, or utilizing a herbicide to spray that is going to kill it from the root. It'll kill that grass from the root up, is another option. So that's a little bit of inside scoop on utilizing landscape fabric, installing decomposed granite, and I hope that helps you out a little bit when you're considering using decomposed granite at your home or at your business. Ed Wallace, riding mobile out here in Southern California. Thanks for tuning in. Give me your ideas, your comments concerning this particular mobile video, and go to my website and visit my blog that I do a new blog each month, www.uniqueenvironments.com.